What's up, everyone? I have an awesome and live, or at least it was recorded live, coaching call episode for you today, where we are going to talk about what to do when you feel uncomfortable in your business. A lot of times I find myself with a task that I'm supposed to get done, and I time block it and I sit down and I try to do it. And then I'm figuring out, why am I so uncomfortable? Why is this taking me so long to get done? Like, I should be able to get this done in this amount of time, and it's just not happening. It's easy to get frustrated with yourself and think that you're the problem. But what I usually find is if I ask myself the right questions, I can become unstuck a lot quicker. Now, this technique is something we have been using in our onboarding. We have been using it with our one-on-one meetings with my employees, and I use it with myself personally each and every day. I'm teaching this technique here today in a coaching call to another client who was feeling stuck with their website and having trouble working on it. And so we talk about really why. Why was that happening and how to get unstuck? If you've ever found yourself in that situation, which if you haven't, like, you got to tell me what your secrets are, because I don't know anybody who hasn't ever found themselves in that situation. You're going to love this episode. So let's get to the live cut from my coaching call. Let me ask you, most importantly, let's start here and then we'll get into this and I can give you an overview.
Yeah.
Most importantly, what is for you as now a mom, wife, maybe a mom one day? Sorry, I started with mom. Just got married. You know, I don't think you had a kid before from what I know.
Well, save that child if it was.
Yeah. As a wife, as a business owner, as you, to be blatantly honest, what do you want out of this?
The website?
No, we're going bigger. What do you want out of this business? What do you want out of your life? Like, where are we going? Where do we want to be?
I think I want like joy and fulfillment are like the two things.
Okay. So let's start with joy and fulfillment. Is your joy, and I'm not going to go into like where should we derive joy from in our life, but let's keep it more practical. Okay. Less spiritual, more practical for the moment. Do you think you can find joy in this business if it's succeeding, or does it have to succeed in a certain way? And I think there's a very big distinction between the two. For example, I knew, broadly speaking, when I started my business, I wanted to work with a certain type of patient.
Yeah.
But the patient that brings me the most joy is a youth athlete. For me personally. However, the type of lifestyle and business owner I wanted to be was not congruent with just seeing youth athletes.
Gotcha.
So I could have just still tried to focus on youth athletes, and I would have been able to see probably somewhere in the maybe 5 to 15 a week relatively easily. But you know, the problem is these kids have to be in school. I would have had to work late hours. I would have been doing weekends. Like, that didn't jive with what I wanted out of my life that was going to give me joy and happiness.
Right.
So, I didn't love youth athletes. Let's put it this way. I'm going to reframe. I didn't love youth athletes so much that I was willing to give up all my nights, all my weekends, and run a business that looked like that.
Yeah.
So I had to change my scope a little.
Yeah.
So what I want to ask you is, what's going to bring you joy and happiness when it comes to this business's success? Because for me, I started to realize it was so much bigger than just what I did in the business. Like, yeah, it was important, but I knew I was going to be going beyond eventually where I'm doing the day-to-day and et cetera, which meant what the day-to-day was just needed to get me to the point of where I wasn't doing it.
That is so true. Yeah. I think I'm like you, like from the beginning, I have like my website, I use the word we, even though I'm a sole practitioner. I don't see myself being a practicing clinician for the rest of my life. I want to be the CEO. I want to work for the business, not in the business, or right, vice versa. I want to work like on the business, not in the business
Yeah.
eventually.
You don't want to be an employee of the business,
Right.
essentially.
Exactly.
Like,
And I absolutely am
or
at
you
that.
don't want to be, what's the way I've heard it phrased? You don't want to, you don't want to be an employee in your own business, which basically, because you want to be the owner of the business. Whereas
Right.
most people are just employee, like
Right.
99% of entrepreneurs are literally just employees in their business.
Right. And it's like, okay, why am I having the same lifestyle?
Right.
So, and so that's absolutely true. I get the most joy treating vertigo and neuro because I'm the most comfortable in
Okay.
them. Because it's easy and stuff. But I'm noticing this cash pay practice, I'm getting more business because people have orthopedic pain and I can take it away. They're like, yeah, okay, cool, whatever. And these trainers, I'm in a kind of a bougier gym. So I'm getting people who um, are just like, yeah, I don't care, just take away the pain and stuff. And I get a few neuro cases and I like them, but the gym's not set up for like a neuro patient. If they ask me, oh, what are the hours where there's not a lot of people, and I work on them and all that stuff. And I have like two, but out of like 20 patients,
So in a
uh,
sense, you're like in this great spot where from the outside looking in, people would say, wow,
yeah,
you're at 20 patients a week
yeah,
already.
yeah,
Like, wow.
yeah,
But you're having this internal struggle of like, I created something I kind of accidentally didn't mean to.
right. Yeah, exactly.
And so this is where I think you have to have, this is where you go on a long walk and you have the
Yeah,
heart to heart with yourself,
yeah, yeah.
which is, what is it that I really want out of this? Like, where
Right.
am I going with my life on it? And I,
Yeah.
I think the answer, look, if I don't see myself like, oh, well, when I get to like 30, 35 people, I'm actually going to be looking at bringing in a second therapist and
Mhm.
maybe stepping more out. And, I'm looking for that type of growth where eventually maybe I have a couple therapists, maybe this gym has another location. I have in several locations. Do you get where I'm going?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
like maybe I'm thinking more around that route, like that's going to be a quicker path. Or
Yeah.
maybe I'm thinking, no, like in my heart of hearts, I wanted to serve the neuro population. I know they need to be served. Is the question whether or not I'm in the right place or get in touch with the right referral sources to actually grow what I wanted to grow?
Yeah.
Because, the flip side is of this, it's like if you're at that pivotal moment where it's really exploding, and
Mhm.
unless you're planning on heading that direction, like you're almost going to be at the point where you don't have a choice unless you're just going to start over.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
Like, and I say that actually as a congratulations
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because I mean, I relate. Look, I set
Yeah.
out doing all this to have my own practice and eventually my own staff. I didn't set out to all of a sudden become a website agency and a marketing agency.
Yeah,
like,
right. I know.
like,
It's so crazy.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's just where life ended up calling me to be. Like, and
Yeah.
once I realized and kind of was like, you're right. Like, this is where I'm supposed to be. Like,
Yeah.
it is very fulfilling, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is the honest question you got to be having with yourself is, and I'll tie it back to the website here shortly.
No, I get it. Yeah.
But it
Mhm.
really comes down to, this is not a website question as much
Mhm.
at this point as what do you want to do with your business and your life?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like back to square one a little bit, you
A
know?
little bit. Like,
Mhm.
do I like the direction I'm going? Is
Mhm.
that going to in the end lead to my joy and fulfillment? Because my joy and fulfillment isn't necessarily, maybe it's not necessarily rooted in what patients do I treat, which actually within the next couple of years, I may not be treating at all. I may just be supervising the people who do treat them. Like,
Yeah.
and and here's the thing. I'm not actually saying, and I want to be very clear, I'm not actually saying you have to give up dizziness, vertigo, or neurological stuff.
Mhm.
I'm just saying, does it become a side subspecialty versus the main focus?
Right. Yeah.
So does
I
this
agree.
more switch to active adults and athletes in Houston, something slightly
Yeah.
different, but
Yeah.
you still have an ebook and a really solid page on
Mhm.
vertigo. And you
Yeah.
still maybe have a really solid page if Parkinson's is the main neurological condition, because
Yeah.
there are plenty of people out there searching online for Parkinson's and for
Yeah.
vertigo. And
Mhm.
that doesn't mean they still can't find those pages. Like,
Mhm.
especially if we work eventually in the long run to get them SEO optimized and maybe even consider some ads to them, et cetera, right? Like, there's
Mhm.
no reason those pages can't work.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
just a matter of, hey, if 90% of the patients I'm getting are all these ortho people, and they're going to start telling, for, their friends about me, and they're going to start going to my website and then be like, I'm a little confused. Like,
Yeah. And that's why I haven't even like done anything yet. Cause I think I'm still in my mind. I'm like, wait, what kind of therapist am I? So
and that's the thing. That's the beauty of it. You don't actually have
yeah.
to kind of label that.
Yeah, you don't. Right. Yeah.
You don't.
So,
Like, that's
yeah.
only for your understanding.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think, and of course, coming back, like right now it's KR Neuro PT. It's just KRPT.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Who cares if it says neuro on the business license? Like, whatever.
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
true. You don't have to actually have to have the business license match your what. That's so true. I didn't think about that.
doesn't, you know what I mean? It's like, whatever.
As long as my
Whatever.
checkbook has the right name, it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like it's just not. It's no big deal. I mean, I actually made a whole podcast that'll come out on actually probably a week and a half from now, not this Monday, but the following, about the same issue. Somebody's thinking about rebranding, same thing. Somebody's thinking
Yeah.
about, oh my gosh, I realized like this was my population. They actually realized their active adult athlete population is turned into women in their 50s and 60s.
Right. Yeah. 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 And it just happens because you don't really know what form it's going to take form until you start scaling. You're like, oh, okay, that's what it is.
Right. And you
Mhm.
don't know what kind of ignites, and you have this idea going in, but, and don't get me
Absolutely.
wrong, if you really want to still force down the neural path, I don't doubt that you could be successful,
Yeah.
but you are going to have to pivot what you're doing.
Yeah. 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 I
And
mean, I don't have
being
to
in the
leave. I
gym,
just can.
I
Yeah.
mean, bless the gym, they're giving you all the referrals you need to
A
really get
ton.
started. And
Mhm.
then you can decide, hey, what do I want to do with this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, like, okay, great. I also don't want to be like, let's say the gym starts struggling. I don't want to be dependent on that either. So we don't want all of our
Right.
referrals coming from there, but that's why we develop out the website. We start doing other marketing activities,
Yeah.
right? But the good news is they're funding you doing all that by sending them
Yeah.
all your patients.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I mean, they're
That's true.
kickstarting you faster because you've got a great referral source.
Yeah. 'Cause it's been a month and I was able to get a lot of patients in a month of opening.
Crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
most people would be like, oh my gosh.
Right. I know. And everyone's like, why are you confused? And I'm like,
Yeah.
because for the last 5 years, I've been a nervous dib clinic and now I'm doing myofascial and muscle spasms every day. But, and it's it's not that it's horrible. It's just that my hands are a little tired, but like, I'm just figuring out like, okay, an identity crisis a little bit, and I
Yes.
already went through one as I started my business. And now that I'm in my business, I'm having another, and I know it's an evolving process. It was just a way different look than I initially thought. And
Correct.
'cause I didn't think
Correct.
the gym was going to send me that many patients.
And I will tell you, most business owners don't get the I'll say the privilege
Yeah.
of being challenged this soon in their identity, because what's
Yeah.
going to happen, and I'm feeling the effects of this right now because we're about to take it to the next level too,
Oh, that's awesome.
and you
Yeah.
feel but you feel the effects, like growing the business. And I'm going to tell you right now, you will continue to have these little mini identity crises
Yeah. Yeah.
in different phases. Like you'll have
Yeah.
one again when you're not putting hands on people,
Yeah.
or when
Yeah.
you're only doing it halftime and then you're doing
Yeah.
business. Like you'll have one then. You'll have one then when you've got a whole staff and you realize one day, like, you can't remember the last time you even talked to a patient.
Yeah.
Like, so you've just had the privilege of rapid growth to the point where you're already having to have a little bit of an identity crisis, which is, wow, what I started is actually looking much different very quickly.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's normal. That's what I want you to know.
Okay.
That's normal. Like,
Super.
yeah, that is totally, totally, totally normal. And you're
Yeah.
going to keep going through periods where you're like, but that's going to change everything. And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah. But the analogy I love to use best is my dad. I love that he tells me this, but he tells me being a parent still gets better every year.
Yeah.
I haven't lived with my dad well over a decade. You
Yeah.
know, I'm about to hit my mid 30s. Like,
Oh,
and
nice.
and he's like, it gets better every year. But why is that? Right? Because it does, like, seeing your baby
Mhm.
grow up and do new things and
Mhm.
change and evolve and become a different person and continue to grow and become a different person. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
truly remarkable.
Yeah.
And it happens fast,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. I mean, that whole analogy of this being the newborn and you're the toddler, I'm like, oh my God, that's exactly what's happening.
Correct. And you're going through it quicker than most people will, but
Mhm.
that doesn't mean it's still not normal. It's
Right. Mhm.
just, and you're going to feel this way about your business, and you'll look back and you'll see the journey and you'll laugh and be like, I can't believe we were doing that back then. And it's
Yeah.
just like, I can't believe, I look back at old photos of my kids and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe how pudgy they were.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, right. Or like, oh, his smile, or, oh my gosh, did this,
Yeah.
whatever. But it's good.
Mhm. Yeah, it's
It's
change.
good.
Change is good. Yeah.
It is change.
Mhm.
And at times you're going to feel like you're not growing up quick enough. And at times you're going to feel like you're growing up too quickly.
Yeah.
I remember my mom, few insights my parents did have on aging that were good. My mom used to tell me, like, sometimes it's okay, like, to feel like a adult, and
Mhm.
sometimes it's okay to feel like a child. Like in my teenage
Yeah.
years, she used to be like, sometimes it's okay to feel like mommy's little girl, and it's
Yeah.
okay to then sometimes feel like you're a teenager that doesn't want anything to do with your mom.
Yeah, that's actually really good advice. Yeah.
Like, you're gonna experience both, especially as you're
Yeah.
growing up, and that's
Yeah.
okay. Like, that's
Yeah.
normal. So it's the same thing you're going through here. So what can we do about this? Like I said, I mean, my best method to the madness is I take a nice long walk and
Yeah.
just like think, almost meditate, pray about
Yeah.
it.
I have to, like, talk a
Um,
lot to myself. Mhm.
basically, yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
I do that well on walks because then I don't get distracted by, say, my phone or everything else in
Yeah, that's so me too. Yeah.
my
Yeah.
so however you find best to do this. And it's like, look, this has the potential to grow really fast right now in the like more ortho sector.
Mhm.
Doesn't mean I can't have subspecialties. Just like I focused on ortho, like aches and pains, just like you.
Mhm.
And I had a gymnastics page. That
Yeah.
meant I carried a nice handful of gymnasts on my schedule, which gave me that little glimpse into the thing I really liked.
Yeah.
But the business was still thriving. It wasn't that I didn't like working with the other people, right?
Right, yeah. Yeah, because I was like, "Oh, I don't wanna be too broad," because I keep listening like niche, niche, niche.
You do. But
Yeah.
you've got a niche right now. Look at them. They're running through your door.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like active adults who have aches and pains. That's literally what
Active
I'm doing.
adults with aches and pains who also go to a bougie gym and are willing to
Yeah.
spend money on their health, and you probably start thinking about what their lives are like outside of that and
Yeah.
what things they value the most,
Yeah. I mean, like,
etc.
golf and travel, like, things like that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
every Joe Schmo on the street with aches and pains don't
Right.
don't golf, they don't travel, they don't do
Right.
all the things. So like you have your niche.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
actually so true. Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
what you got to realize. Like,
Yeah.
you have more of a niche than you realize
Yeah.
once
Yeah.
you really dig into who they are. And if you need to
True.
just
I was thinking in my PT lenses, not like X-ray
correct,
lenses. Yeah. Yeah, I
I
hear
got to
you.
get you out. That's what I'm trying to do. That's
Yeah.
most of the success of this, especially in marketing, is getting you out of your PT lens.
Yeah. It's crazy because I'm like, "Oh, I'm not in my PT lens. I'm so in my PT lens." So,
I'm here to just call it out a few times.
yeah.
Um,
Okay,
and
that's, like,
so
very helpful.
what's really funny is now that I'm so out of my PT lens, I actually find myself referencing back into it some. So it's
Oh,
really funny.
really? Yeah.
I'm like, actually, wait, that's just like in the PT world when you do this. And I'm like,
Yeah, it's so funny. Oh my gosh. No,
anyway,
that's super helpful. That, like, gives me a ton of clarity.
awesome. Because that's what I want you to go with this.
Yeah.
And if you feel confident with that, then what's come down to the website, the website will follow whatever decision you make.
Yeah, because I was like, "Yeah, I wanna take away this photo and I wanna do that," but I was like, "Wait, I need to do more than that. I think I need to actually almost rebrand it completely," you know? So,
Correct.
yeah.
Correct. You'll need
Mhm.
to, I prefer, because this is going to be me on a soapbox. Sorry. I prefer the word remessage.
Oh, remessage. Okay, yeah. Uh-huh.
And the reason why you'll partially hear me because if you listen to that podcast in a couple weeks,
Yeah.
is technically branding is like the logo and
Yeah.
the name and the whatever, which,
Okay, I
to be
don't care about that.
blatantly honest, doesn't matter that
Yeah, I
much.
agree. I don't care about that, yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
nobody's asking you when they come in what KR stands for.
Yeah, nobody cares.
They really aren't. They're just not. Like,
Yeah.
and they might be like, "Oh, it's her maybe it's her initials."
Yeah,
Like, right?
which is
Like,
yeah.
they might think that, but they may not even get that far. Like
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
most people aren't even gonna think twice about the name.
Yeah.
So, if you're not gonna be neuro specific, I would just slash the neuro out because,
Yeah.
but that's as much rebranding as I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what we would look at doing is redoing your message.
Yes, absolutely. Because 'cause I'm just not treating those things as much. So
Correct. So
mhm.
I would take this top measurement and I mean, headline, whatever I'm
Yeah.
talking about, I'm looking at it. I'd take this headline and just rework it a little, and I'd
Yeah.
start there. And
Yeah.
then it's looking at the rest of your stuff and starting to go through it just like
Yeah.
it is in the course.
Okay.
And it's like, okay, let me almost go re-listen back to some of these videos with
Yeah,
my new
absolutely.
focus.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think
Yeah, that makes
one,
sense.
you'll find it a lot easier this time. Two, if you
Yeah.
are already seeing 20 patients or so of these types of people, it's going to come to you really quick.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, I could literally, I know what my message would be. I know what my headlines would be. It's kind of whatever, I mean, what we can talk about exactly in the course and stuff. And I I was overthinking a lot, I think,
Mhm.
actually. Um, and, and now that I'm living in it, it is a lot easier. But when I look at my website, I'm like, huh, I'm like, it doesn't make sense. And I mean, I really love neuro and vertigo, but like treating ortho pain is fine too. It doesn't, it helps me if anything. So
You're like, it's not making me sick at night when I go home.
no, I'm
You
not
tell me
like,
you're depressed and all this stuff.
yeah,
I'm like, okay, let's have a whole different conversation.
yeah, no, it doesn't bother me. I like them. They're great people. Like, and if they see me for a couple, 2, 3 visits and they're so much happier, it's like great, So,
Right. It's
um,
it's fulfilling in its own way.
yeah, totally. It's not, it's actually kind of, in my sense, a little easier because they're not as complex as like my chronic pain and all that stuff. But so I
Right.
don't mind it. It was just like, oh, I didn't even know I knew how to do this, but I realized like, all the skills come back to you. Yeah.
They
So
do. They do.
yeah.
So what I would then refocus is focus mostly on the ortho person, your specific one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not trying to generalize it too much here, but
Yeah. No, I hear you.
your
Yeah.
specific one, and then start thinking, go back to like what are the 5 things I treat most? And it doesn't it's like let's hit the ortho ones, but then that doesn't mean we get rid of a vertigo page if
Right.
you
Make
pick
a
one.
page. Yeah. Yeah.
Like have a vertigo page, and I'd probably have a Parkinson's. I probably wouldn't do neurological conditions, and the reason I'll tell you is mostly
I
based
agree.
on search engines. Nobody's typing
Oh,
in like treatment for my neurological condition.
yeah. That's fair.
They're
Hmm.
typing in treatment for Parkinson's or help with
Yeah.
walking when or problems walking with Parkinson's or
Yeah.
I might even go so far as to really focus on and maybe type into Google and find out what the most common search words are for like specifically Parkinson's walking or gait or
Yeah.
whatever is the popular term. I'd
Yeah.
probably keep the page all about that because
I
that's what most
agree.
people are going to go to a therapist
Yeah,
for.
stroke and Parkinson. I'm not seeing like those rare Guillain-Barrés and stuff like that. I'm like seeing Parkinson's and stroke. So
And if you end up having 3 specialty pages,
mhm.
fine. And if
Yeah,
nobody ever uses them, we don't freak out over it.
yeah, you can just hide them. Yeah, yeah.
Well, then
Mhm.
I say, like under the our services button, you can keep it, but
Oh
like
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
you just keep them.
yeah.
Um,
And see where
and
it
and
goes.
like I said, they'll get some SEO traction because they're unique. And if you ever do want to, you're like, I really just wish, like a lot of people need Parkinson's help, and I found out about that, and there's not many people helping in my area. I could probably run some ads for this and attract
Yeah.
people. Like
Okay. Yeah,
you
that's
still
good.
have all the content.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, that's like kind of that's like a better way of thinking about it. So it's not so
Correct.
black and white. Okay, that is so helpful. I think I just need to get that off my chest. That I'm like, hey, I am not practicing what my website says.
And that's okay
And
right now. We're
yeah,
figuring it out.
yeah, and figuring out. And I think it's like part of, yeah, like that's part of it because I haven't worked on it because I've just been like, that's somebody. So, but I'm figuring out. But I will totally work on the remessaging, and I think I just need to kind of figure out what direction I'm headed, and then I'll have the website mirror that.
Correct. Correct.
Right. And then I'll
Exactly.
just post in the Facebook group for like specific questions once I
Yeah.
get the messaging down.
Yeah. Show
So
up as much as you can, whichever works for you. Post in Facebook group, email us. The I think the reason you were struggling to get this done is because of this turmoil.
absolutely. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it really was a sign of a bigger problem.
Yeah. I mean, it was just, it was, like I said, I was like already heading into a toddler phase and I was trying to still be a newborn, I guess. So I was like, okay, I got to grow with this. So, but that feels like reassuring that, and I knew this, it's when you're in it, you don't think about it. It's like, oh, I know that my business will evolve and change, but I didn't see it coming this way. So
Correct.
yeah, and I'm not even unhappy, I'm happy. So I'm just like, okay, I just need to, but it's not like matching up. So
And when you feel that, you're going to feel that dissonance.
yeah,
Like you're going to
exactly.
feel it. And the best skill you can start to develop as a business owner that'll help you in the long run from all of this is starting to recognize that dissonance.
Yeah.
And when you're feeling it and really not being afraid to be like, why?
Yeah. Yeah. Like kind of welcome that
Why?
anxiety a little bit and just figure it out.
Right. Like, I mean, I got stuck on a task last week too, and I was just like, why? And I'm like realizing
Yeah.
I don't have the right support to complete this. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
enough to complete this. So I went out and got a
Right.
coach to help me complete it. I
Yeah.
mean,
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm like, I've struggled to get this done for weeks. So
Yeah. What's
why?
going on? Yeah.
It's
That's
like
exactly.
I need someone holding my hand more. That's the blatant answer. So I went
Yeah.
out and I went out and hired somebody to literally hand by hand walk me through it. So
Exactly.
that's where that's the bigger, even bigger message than all
Yeah.
this is really trying to figure out and understand and be aware of yourself of when those moments happen. And Melanie's one of our newest staff members. You can say hi to Melanie there. Um, she she's been one of the ways I'm bringing this up because one of the ways we've been even helping new staff members, and I'm starting to do it with my current ones either, get through and learn this themselves, is we've started asking the question, like Melanie has to answer daily, where were you uncomfortable or unclear yesterday?
Oh yeah. That's a really good question.
And it's usually it's like I was just kind of I wasn't quite sure how to do this, and you start to realize, oh, I just needed this answered, or I needed this extra piece of information, or I forgot I had access to this,
Mm-hmm.
something of that nature. Like for me, basically the same question I said, why am I so uncomfortable trying to finish this task?
Yeah.
I don't have
Yeah.
all the information I need.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
why do I keep spending my meals on 2-hour blocks and trying to get it done when I don't have all the information I need?
Yeah.
And so that's the question. I think it's a question somebody should ask themselves every day. Like, where
Yeah.
was I uncomfortable yesterday?
And
I
then
mean,
figure out the missing piece. Yeah.
I think the world would be a lot better place if people would
Oh
do that
yeah.
more often.
Seriously, it's like, oh, that could have just solved this if I just nipped it in the bud this day. Yeah. No, that
Exactly.
makes a lot of sense. That's so helpful. Thank you so much. You're always so freaking smart.
Oh, well, the funny thing is, I won't deny, I spend a lot of time learning this stuff and I spend a
Yeah.
lot of time messing it up.
That's the way to do it. Like fall often or fail often. They say fail often and fail smartly. So that's the way
You
to do
know,
it.
exactly.
Oh gosh,
Exactly.
thank
And
you so much. That's so
you
helpful.
just need those outside people to speak into your life
Yeah,
to remind you of these things. Cause I have to
yeah,
have people that speak the same thing to me
I
because
know. It was just like, oh, just change your website. It's like, oh, okay. I was
it's
like, yeah, I get it.
but that seems hard right now.
Yeah, just start.
Why?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Why?
yeah.
Why does that
Yeah,
seem hard?
it's hard.
Why am I uncomfortable with that?
Yeah, that makes total sense. Well, thank
And
you so much.
you're
You're
welcome.
freaking awesome. And I'm gonna start working on these changes, and then I'll email update as we go.
Sounds like a great plan. It's been good to talk to you today.
Oh, yeah, same. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys.
All right. Bye.
Bye.